People of the world, welcome to Send It Rising, episode 360 something. She's back. Last time we had a fantastic conversation with the owner of Small Wave Marketing. I love chatting with other owners of digital agencies because we're all doing different stuff. We're having different caffeine intake. We're sleeping different amounts. Some of us are on TikTok. Some of us are doing wine tastings with their new clients. Welcome back to the show, the one and only Audrey Hutnick. Let's go. So talk to me
Yes.
about this wine tasting.
Yeah, we're doing it's a team virtual wine tasting. We really wanted to celebrate our our contractors and kind of everyone behind Small Wave Marketing. And we're trying to find a way to creatively do that. That's a fun way to do it online and not just kind of have an awkward Zoom chat. So we're bringing in a Chicago local wine craft winery, and they'll be hosting a wine tasting for us. So very excited for it tonight.
I love it. Wine is delicious. I'm a red wine drinker. White wine gives me a headache. Where do you
Mm.
fall on the spectrum of wines?
I go more wine. Or more white. I started with Moscato. Growing up, it was always Moscato in the family. So then we've shifted
You know
to
what?
other
I
whites.
like your first answer better.
More wine.
What kind of wine do you want more, please? You can fill up the cup. I
Really,
will do
whatever color.
it. I'll just keep it going. Yeah, it is too funny. I don't know. I go in phases, and we've talked about this on the show before, but this notion that health and exercise and all this sort of stuff is over here and the entrepreneurship is over there. But it's like good luck selling someone on a website if you feel sick, or if you're not, you're under the weather, you're not motivated, or you're an alcoholic and you need to drink to sell. They say the Venn diagram of extrovert and alcohol consumption equals sales. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, being charismatic and all that sort of stuff. Do you find that you woke up one day and all of a sudden you were a salesperson?
Oh no. I
No?
mean, yes, I guess when you break it down what the definition of it is, but in my like going to college classes of what sales is and marketing, it's like, oh, I'm never going to be that salesperson. But yes, like okay, I take back my answer. Yes, I've woken up today and I was like, I guess I am a salesperson.
Isn't that wild? Because to
Yeah.
me, it was always like, I want to own a business. Owning a business sounds great. And in my head, owning a business means someone else is doing the selling. I didn't realize that you are the top salesperson. Like when you own a company, you need to think of new and inventive ways, and other people follow your lead. And how are you selling, and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, I learned that lesson. And people are terrified of sales by and large. But I enjoy having conversations with people and building rapport. Do you find yourself doing that a lot as a way to get clients?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And I think that that's why I hesitated on your question of like, when did I become a salesperson? Because to me, it's just a conversation. And so, I'll jump on a 30-minute call really just to have a conversation. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, did we just make a sale? Was that a potential client in the lead? So, yes, it all comes to the relationship, and just
Mm.
being like real with, and, not having that like ulterior motive of like, oh, what am I actually trying to, do in this call?
Yeah, that's so true. And I've been doing speed networking for quite a while now. And I mean, 99% of the conversations I have there is no sale at the end of them. And what I realized, and because you're just meeting people, and what I realized was the goal for me is to have a good conversation, just to have
Mm-hmm.
a good conversation with another human being. And because I will meet these people for like the third or fourth time, and they'll be like, "You do you're is it websites? Is it do you do what?" You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like these speed networking events are so wild because we made this giant cultural shift into we just Zoom with each other all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's easy for, at least from my perspective, to look at the person across from me and go, oh, it's a Melaleuca salesperson, and just be like, okay. But that part of their life, I mean, I'll just be brutally honest, like I don't care. I don't care. But the thing is, they don't care either. They're like websites.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no, I'm like the seventh website designer person marketer they've talked to in the last 2 weeks. And so I try to jump right over that, but some people are hyper fixated on it. And I feel like if you're newer to sales, that's when you tend to be more
Yeah.
fixated in like what you do rather than who you are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back in the day of actually going to networking events and doing things in person, I had this like goal for myself of just making 2 real connections per event.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's kind of, you know, the different aspect of when you're in this virtual speed network and you're connecting with 10, 15 people, and then it's like, are you making real connections? No, you're not. Where it's like, kind of taking it slow, but like 2 people, that was kind of my goal I set for myself.
I love that depth
Yeah.
instead of breadth. I mean, if you're selling hamburgers, it's all quantity, because you just
Right.
meet, you're like, "Hey guys, like we have these amazing burgers, cool, awesome." You go talk to the next people because they might swing by. But when you're selling what we're selling, this is high trust
Mm,
stuff. I mean, people
totally.
read, and the other thing too is everyone knows. I mean, I should say that, but I'm not everyone. A large percentage of people know someone who's getting a website designed or they need marketing. They know somebody, that they
Mhm.
could refer you to for like an audit or something like that. They're just not comfortable doing it.
Mm.
And why should they be? They don't know
Yeah,
you.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think, that's why when someone has worked with you and then they refer you, that's why it's so much stronger, and you're someone out of everyone else then.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Referrals are where it's at. So how much of sales would you argue is just doing a good job for your current clients?
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I mean, I wanna say it's like, 75 or 80% of just really focusing on your clients, and then 20% getting out there, making those new introductions. When I think of our client base right now, so many of them are just like really remarkable clients that, like our work, and then, in turn now it's 3 new clients. So yeah, I would give it that 80-20% in this situation.
Yeah, I'm right there with the same numbers. And it's funny because my job is just that 20%. So I don't really
Hmm.
live in that other 80% because I'm Mr. Run around, do a show, get attention guy at this point. So I live in that 20%. So my perception is skewed. But word to the wise, if you're out there, you're listening to this and you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about growing a company, wouldn't that be great if you didn't have to listen to your boss anymore and you're going through all of that fantasy of entrepreneurship? um, get ready to sell.
Hmm.
Get ready to sell some stuff, man.
Yeah.
Because now it's not you have a boss and they're telling you what to do. You are actively looking for someone to tell you what to do.
Yeah. Get ready to sell, but also get ready you know, to get out there and get your elevator pitch down, like really know like who your clients are, like get ready to finesse everything because it's going to be the same conversation to begin with, and it's just a matter of, is this going the right direction?
Headed in the right direction.
Mhm.
You and I, Audrey, are definitely heading in the right direction. Fact. And I heard that you just hired your first employee.
We did, yes.
Hmm. Tell me.
Yes.
Spill the tea.
Yeah, well, we kind of did like a transition point of, um, we worked with her as a contractor for about 3 months, and she's just a rock star. And we even all worked together in the same organization in the past, and so we were able to really shift that into being an official employee as of January 3rd. So we're really excited. This is a new direction for Small Wave.
Yeah, and what did you learn about, like, W-2 and 1099 and that whole world?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so because of this past tax season wasn't, we didn't have an official employee yet. Now is when we're kind of shifting into that knowledge base. But what I'm learning is do everything like when you can up front. So, when you sign on a contractor or you sign on an employee, onboard them correctly. And then it makes everything so much easier in the end.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the mistakes, this is not a mistake, I take that back. Saying it was a mistake was a mistake. I've had employees in, 10 out of the 50 states, and each state is different, and so
Mm,
I learned that lesson, which is, there's a huge benefit to being able to hire nationally. So you can put a job posting out that's remote. Any of the 50 states, great. I learned a lot about the state of California. I learned what,
that's where we're working with. So I'm right there with you.
yeah. So there's that. There's source
Yeah.
income tax for those of you that are unfamiliar. If you get money from the state of California, it doesn't matter if you're in Florida or Maine or Alaska. You have to pay something called source income tax. It's the only state in the union where that's a thing.
Mm,
And then California is just notorious for just kind of being bureaucratic. And so I get
mhm.
more letters from the state of California than any other state I work with. They are just constantly blowing up my mailbox with this or that or the other thing.
Okay, I'll go check my mailbox.
Just
I'll have to
saying,
on the regular. Yeah.
like compare that to like South Carolina or Wyoming's the funniest. Wyoming's like, huh? But they're like, oh, you have an employee? What's their name? I'm like, there's their name. They're like, okay, bye. Like they're
Why
like,
are you bothering
do you
me?
want unemployed? Like they're one of the only states where they're like, do you want what was it? The insurance, like workers' comp. There's some
Yeah.
specific insurance. Like they actually like it's not every other state. It's just rolled into you having an employee.
Yeah.
With them, they're
Yeah.
like, do you even want that? Like they're so the opposite of California.
Oh. I will
So,
say comparing California to Illinois, which is where Small Wave is based,
yeah.
is short-term disability. So short-term disability is included in California. So that I'll give them a little high five about that.
Okay.
But I've heard they're difficult in other ways.
Yeah. So it's the whole thing. And yeah, so it is pretty funny too because if you try to reach the government of the state of California, it's a whole different vibe than trying to reach like South Carolina. South Carolina, you call up, they're like, "Good morning, how's it going, sweetheart?" Like it's like you're
Mm.
talking to just like Janice, and like they pick up after like 4 rings and it goes straight to Janice. And you're like, "What's up, Janice?"
Doreen.
Dude, as opposed to like, hour and a half later, it's like you get some different, it's just the
Yeah.
size is so wildly different between these organizations.
Mm.
So,
Hey, I give them all credit, whoever works, in those departments, because I know it can be tough.
I did something with the state of Wyoming. I think they felt bad because I owed them money and they were like, I'm like, what's this letter? And what the hun, and they were like, they're like, it's $20. Because we went back and forth and back and forth, and
Get off the phone.
I think literally they were just like, you know what, we're gonna waive this. We're gonna waive this for you. I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Mm.
So funny. Just this, it's like Starbucks money. Um, anyway,
Yeah.
I'm super excited for you. It's so cool that you're. I mean, do you have some sort of vision? Do you have something you're attached to in the future of what you want? What's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it, I look at it as definitely all stepping stones. So being able to bring on, contractor then employee, like has totally changed kind of, what my life looks like personally, just because it went from constant nights and weekends of working to like, oh, I can actually kind of have the schedule I want to, and then kind of spread out the work. And so that was that stepping stone. And now it's just a lot of how are we breaking up our expenses. And so my personal goal for this next month is implementing like profit first into the way that we handle our money. And so really it's just a lot of the foundational steps now that we have that extra hand and are able to really keep into our zones of genius and just focus on what is it that we're good at. Is it sales or is it the actual
Mhm.
client relations or whatnot?
Yeah, I love that zones of genius. I have to respond to the comment. Daniel Apria says you finally gave up chess, and the reason he said that, talking about zones of genius, is about a year and a half ago. In preparation for doing this sort of thing for my company, I zoomed. I was on Twitch,
Mm.
live streaming at night. I did like 3 or 4 hours of chess a night because I wanted to know what it was like to build a live audience and do that whole thing. Anyway, Daniel is this incredible chess player, 2000 rated, probably higher now, out of London. And he and I did some streams together. So, hey, Daniel, how's it going, dude? Zones of Genius. I feel like the experience I had with chess taught me a lot about entrepreneurship.
Mm.
That was a wild ride, and I really enjoyed that. So good to see you, Daniel. Appreciate you swinging by the show. So, okay, is there a dollar amount you're shooting for in terms of gross revenue? Do you have a monetary target?
Yeah, I would say that we're shooting for around, I would say around like 300,000 for this next year.
Okay,
Yeah,
good time.
that's yeah. So having started in 2020, that's kind of our focus right now.
Yeah, good for you. Is
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to be doing bonus structure for your employee, or is it going to be
Mm.
is it going to be based on company revenue? How do you want to work that?
Yeah, so we've broken it down where it's kind of dependent on the team, and it's based off of revenue goals. And we decided this all with her. We didn't want to just make the decision of like, we don't want to decide what motivates you. So together we sat down and like, okay, if as a whole in this quarter we're making this amount of money, so it's all revenue based, and then bonuses are allocated quarterly.
Ooh, okay. So she doesn't have ownership in the company, but she feels like she does.
Yeah. And that's our goal. I mean, from past organizations we work with where it's like, oh, we care about you and we're going to be so open and honest. And then like the next day, they lay you off out of the blue, and, like just things don't feel right. And so those are things that have kind of taught us the way that we want to run our business.
Did you have an experience where you were laid off out of the blue?
Had the experience where I was laid off. I will say I was the second round of layoffs, so
Mm,
mine wasn't out of the blue. The first round was though. So
right.
yeah.
Was it a
Hmm.
marketing company?
No, it wasn't. It was a nonprofit. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So the Audrey Hutnick mission company is going to be different. You can do things differently. You can do it right.
We do. We learn from what we like and what we don't like about the hiring process, about the way that your organization is run, all the things, and then we take that and do it the way we want to.
That's right. Yeah, I definitely learned quite a few lessons from some of the companies I worked at. Like the truth is a very big deal. I mean, have you ever been lied to over and over again by supervisors? I mean, there is nothing more demoralizing than not being able to trust the words that are coming out of the faces of the people that are supposed to be like running the show. That is just wild to me.
Yeah.
I've had that
Yeah.
experience. Um,
Absolutely. And that's why it's like, whether it's the good news or the bad news, like you'll know it's the truth because you're part of the conversations. And that's kind of how we're trying to run our little organization ourselves. Yeah.
I have a bit of imposter syndrome. My sister talks about that all the time. She owns a company, Chelsea Smith Cosmetics. She's famous on TikTok, super successful, and she talks about having imposter syndrome. I was literally thinking about creating a graphic for an ad that was going to run on a website called Nextdoor, which is a local
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah.
neighbors complain about one another on it all the time.
You
And
say you lost your bike.
yeah, exactly. Like, did you see those teenagers smoking pot in the alleyway? It's that. This is next door. And so anyway, I was gonna make this ad in Canva because I'm thinking like a entrepreneur that's just started out and I'm just sort of doing it. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I Skype Jose, who's our graphic designer. I was like, hey, dude, do you have a second? I feel again, I don't feel like I'm the boss and you need to respond to me and this is how it is. I'm still very much
Hmm.
like, do it myself is fine. Um, and so I reach out to him and he's like, okay. And I give him a screenshot and he's like, give me 15 minutes, because I forget that I'm the boss, right? Because he's
Mm,
approaching me and the fact that I pay him and it's my company from this total, and so I'm very sweet and gentle with the whole thing. Like,
mm,
it would be, yeah, I'm all, tiptoeing about. And then he drops like the most gorgeous, perfect graphic in 15
yeah.
minutes. And I'm like, why would I even spend zero point 0.2 seconds thinking I should do this when when I have this incredible resource at my disposal? So it's just that change in thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the key in that for me was the 15 minutes, like would that have taken you 45 minutes and been a quarter as good versus, really referring to him as
I never would have
this is
gotten to
your
that
area.
quality, but it would have taken me 3 years.
Yeah.
And Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and years of experience. There's just no way I was gonna bust that out. That was never gonna happen. It's gorgeous. It
Yeah.
looks so good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm running that ad. Yeah, right now we're doing a free month of internet marketing with a website redesign. That's sort of like the pitch is like get your site
Mm,
redesigned. Because for us, I spent $3,000 on Google ads, didn't get a single hit.
mm,
We got no new clients. And what I've learned is at the end of the day, if you don't have trust or if you
mhm.
haven't established trust through a referral, you're really unlikely to close it. That's not that's necessarily true, but if it's a warm referral, that's definitely the best. And so the redesign, it gives us an opportunity for them to see that we're good at doing what we say we're going to do.
Mm,
And then the
yeah.
internet marketing for a month is actually a benefit to us because now we get to send you a report, we get to
Mhm.
send you the blogs, we get to send you the social media posts, and you go, oh, okay, these guys are legitimate. So that's
Yeah.
the idea anyways. I don't know if it's actually going to work or not, but we have gotten a few web leads over the
Yeah.
past few years.
You eliminated that barrier. Yeah. For us, what we do, and I don't want to say this is our pitch, but this is just kind of why we start, what we started Small Wave off of is really kind of our initial conversation. Our assessment is a pay what you can model. And, that's kind of been that easy lead in where it's like, there's no barrier and, talk to us if you want, we can get that conversation started. And that's where, we've had a lot of conversion there.
Wow. So talk to me about that. Is that like a month, 2 month, 3 months? Do you put a date on it or how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. So what it is, it's a 2 hour conversation. We really strive to make that conversation beneficial in itself. It's not just, kind of data mining and trying to learn. It's really like at the end of that conversation, we try to provide some on the spot feedback, and then we'll send, a $0 invoice after that, and then give the value of the session. And so it's really based off of, really truly where they are in their budget, and what they can afford. And then if they're able to afford more and want to work with us, then we kind of move on to our strategy. If really that's as much as they could take on financially, but also where they are in their business. And sometimes those 2 hours is all they need to give them a little bit of a nudge. So,
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you give a 2 hour consultation session for free. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if something like that might work for us. Usually our clients are the people who are like, we know we don't want to do it. We know we want someone to do it for us. How much do you charge? But don't make me feel guilty. And you know what I mean? Like if I say, don't make it hard for me to say no.
yeah.
I find that even getting people into the initial conversation is a lot of work. I feel like once we get a proposal out, we usually close it because the trust established for them to even ask for it is enough for them to then buy it. I feel like there's a lot of hesitancy with people to ask for a proposal, to ask for free consultations because they know they're going to get sold to, and we're good at selling, and our product is good. So it's like, God, I wish I could just go out there and be like, hey, free consultation, and then get all these people interested. It just hasn't been the case with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. And that's why, we really frame it as, it's not as, I guess at the core of it, it is a consultation, but, we'll follow up with our notes and our recommendations, and we try to make it a lot more substantial. And so, but, of course, people have their first consultation in different ways.
Yeah, and this whole like when I was less seasoned, you could say, as the wrinkles in my eye will show you.
My gray hairs.
That's right. I mean, I look young, and so I think a lot of people look at me and they don't think I'm as old as I am. I'm 37, but what's the deal? Yeah, when I wasn't as old, I used to think, oh, just free consultation. People line up outside the door. I mean, you're literally giving away your stuff for free. You'll free web audit, free all that stuff. People just all they see is sales. They see that they go like, okay, here we go. Because they've walked into these horrible meetings. Have you been in these meetings with like free lunch and you get stuck and you're like, oh God, like it's the most horrible experience. You're like, what
Yeah.
circle of hell am I in right now? Is that dude the devil? Like, what is happening? I hate this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're terrified of that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, let's get on a 30-minute call and I'll play a 25-minute video for you. Why? Don't do that.
Yeah, I have stopped people in their tracks. I've been
Good
in a
for
meeting
you.
where they did that. I'm like, no PowerPoints. I was like, guys, just no. No to this. The answer is no. Sorry. I know that sounds horrifying, but it's just the answer is no. And I went to this other thing, and they trick you too. I went to this Legal Shield thing. And I went out of my house, put on the mask, did the whole thing, and it's even more to ask of someone in a pandemic to like go, to a physical
Get
location.
dressed. Yeah.
So I was there and the guy stood up. No, it was even worse than that. It was, they were like, okay, let's do little introductions. I'm like, oh, this is a networking thing. Cool. So I start doing, like 15 seconds. Dude cuts me off right away. Okay, thanks. And moves on to the next person. I'm just like, okay, all right, okay. And then here it comes. Here comes the hour-long Legal Shield pitch. And we had already eaten lunch, so they already like paid for our lunch, And about 10 minutes in to this pitch, I turned to the dude, the main guy, and I said, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I didn't give him a fake excuse.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know what I mean? I just said, I'm leaving now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, okay, all right." What's he gonna do? Tackle me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm leaving, bro. Like, my time is way too valuable to be
Yeah.
sitting here and listening to this.
Hey, good for you. Yeah. And based off of this, I almost want it to be my like 2022 resolution of if it's like strictly someone that's not respecting your time and it's just a straight up sales call, I kind of want to adapt that. So,
Yes,
okay,
girl.
stay tuned. Yeah.
I'm going to go.
Okay.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Thank you. And
Yeah.
out. It's that simple. And it's so like you will feel like the queen of the universe. Like when you step out of it, because your mind is like, how long is this thing gonna be? You feel like you're stuck. It's this whole thing. And the second that fresh air hits your face or like you get out of it, just the relief you
Yeah.
feel. It's oh, it's delicious.
Good for you. I love that. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what they're afraid of. And so, when the ad pops up and it says free web audit, that's
Hmm.
all they see is this person is going to hard sell me. I'm going to get on some email list. They're never going to leave me alone. And it's going to be super
Yeah.
expensive. And I hate it. Right. Um,
Hmm.
and so I don't know what the alternative is. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's what I want to do. I want to sit down with you and like give you the secrets, the keys to the kingdom. Like, here's what the blog should look like. Here's what your on-site SEO should look like. Here's like, let me like, because as a teacher, as a former teacher, right? I want to be giving you all the tools.
Mm.
If you want to go do it, cool. If you
Yeah.
don't, I'll do it for you. Here's what it would cost. No pressure. Bye.
Mm. But here's a question for you. Do you have a certain number of touch points where it's like, cool, like I'm interested in this relationship, but like I'm not trying to be super salesy. Like, do you have a certain number that you stick with?
I mean, usually, like the vast majority of our revenue has come from BNI referrals.
Hmm.
And so it's like, hey, Kellen's good at XYZ or Send It Rising this. And like, cool, let's do a Zoom call. On that Zoom call, we'll do the stuff. We'll go through the stuff. It's like, here's your website. Here's this, do this, do that, do this, do that. We usually just give them a big sheet of homework where it's like, here's
Mm.
all the things that we would recommend that you do. And we leave it at that. And they're like, well, how much would you charge to do those things? And we said, oh, would you like a proposal? Yes, we would. Cool. We send them the proposal. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's that, I mean, really, it's not closing deals. That's not the problem.
Mm.
It's lead generation. It's quality lead generation. I mean, the closing part, I'm very comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, no, I'm always kind of curious where it's like, we'll have someone that's a referral, they're interested, we have a great conversation. Then it's kind of like, as soon as we're at the contract point, that's where it's like, oh, I'm scared, is this a big commitment? And then that's, I feel like sometimes where we have to nurture a little bit. I'm just kind of
But
curious what other people.
totally. Oh, yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
what's your price range? Like, where do you tend to charge?
Yeah, so our hourly rate is 110 per hour, but we have retainer packages. So, and then we also have a nonprofit rate as well. So that's kind of where we get started, but based off of, also budget wise, we kind of work together.
Yeah, I mean, $100 an hour is very common, 110, sure,
Hmm.
call it whatever.
Yeah.
And then so we're probably on the low end, we're probably like 700 a month, and on the high
Mm.
end, it's like 2,000. So it falls usually in that range. And then there's long form blog content, on-site SEO, social media, maybe like social media consulting, TikTok, Instagram, that sort of stuff. Google Ads management, Facebook Ads management is usually how that goes.
Mm.
And then if they want web security, that's like $200 a month to update all the plugins, to do all that sort of stuff. And then deal with sort of like move this graphic, change this, change that, light sort of web stuff. So I don't know. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if you've looked around recently, but everything's more expensive now.
Always. Isn't that always how it is?
In the recession, I feel like things kind of plateaued for a while. Like a Starbucks drink was $5 for a while. It's $7 now. Like things have jumped.
I mean, okay, hey, that's fair because I did go to a local coffee shop and it was like $3.50 or $4 just for a brewed coffee, and I was like, that's half
I
of a
know.
bag of
It
beans.
finally happened. It finally happened because our generation kind of experienced this like lack of it. It felt like it was lack of inflation because home prices didn't, they were
Mm.
super weird for a really long time. Like they inflated and then we lived in this sort of this plateau for a minute. But no, I'm feeling inflation now, and I haven't raised prices on any of my clients. And so I'm like, "Ugh, when's that going to come?" Because all my
Mm.
vendors raised their prices, all of them. Like tech broker went
Mm.
up, just all the da, 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 da. And I'm
Yeah.
going, come on, man.
I hear ya. I hear ya.
So anyway, it is 11. So we're going to wrap this up. Audrey Hutnick, smallwavemarketing.com, I want to say, is where you're going to want to go. Small, like tiny wave, like the thing in the ocean marketing. Like if you don't know what that is, I don't know what to tell you. Audrey, where can they reach you other than that website?
Yeah, Instagram as well, Small Wave Marketing. And really those two places are a perfect place to find us.
Beautiful. Shout out to Brad Hess in chat. He raised prices last year and he's going to raise prices again.
Ooh.
And again. And he can get away with it because he's tall. Brad Hess. Good times. All right. Thanks, everyone, for swinging by the show. Shout out to Daniel. Thanks for swinging by. Good to see you, dude. And for everyone listening on iTunes and Spotify, you know I love you. Check us out on TikTok at Send It Rising, youtube.com/Send It Rising. Bye, everybody.